old and new, which is one of the things that I think is really interesting about a lot of these properties. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having us. It's good to be here. Yeah, Bella Oaks is old and new. I think that's a really great way to describe it. And I think the history of Bella Oaks is a really important story to tell. So Bell and Barney Road, we'd be remiss of not talking about Bella Oaks if we didn't talk about Bell and Barney Roads that started the property. And in fact, we can accredit much of what Napa Valley is today to Bell and Barney. They were visionaries. They loved food, they loved wine, they loved Napa Valley. And they brought many people to Napa Valley. They were kind, they were generous. Barney had over 10,000 bottles in his cellar. He just loved to share wine and loved to share Napa Valley with the world. So they can actually be accredited again with starting two great vineyards in Napa Valley. Bella Oaks is one. They bought the property in the late 1960s. They planted the first vines there in 73, and then Heights made a single vineyard Cabernet from that property in 76. But they purchased land and planted another vineyard before that. Does anyone know what that vineyard might be? I'm curious. Antonio, you can't answer if you do know. They purchased a property in 1959. And then in 1961, they planted 12 acres there. And then in 1963, they sold that property. Does that give it away to anyone? No? Today, it's known as Martha's Vineyard. They sold it to Tom and Martha May. So really, Bell and Barney, they loved Napa Valley. They loved finding great sites. They owned a number of other vineyards around the valley too, but they finally settled on Bella Oaks as being their home and their place and where they really wanted to make wine. So Heights made Bella Oaks Cabernet from the property, planted to 100% Cabernet from 76 through to 2009. Don't believe they released the 2009 because they saw the writing on the wall that the current owner, Suzanne Dilbooth, had bought the property and was unlikely to continue to sell grapes to them. And there was a period from 2010 through 2015 where fruit was sold to Staglin, and Staglin also made a Bella Oaks product, Cabernet. In 2017, I got a call from Suzanne saying, "Have you ever heard of a vineyard called Bella Oaks? Would you come and talk to me?" The most unbelievable thing had just happened. 2 nights prior, I had sat and drunk a bottle of the 76 Heights Bella Oaks, and that wine had rocked my world. It today is still one of my absolute favourite bottlings of Bella Oaks wine. And I couldn't believe that 2 days later I was getting a call from Suzanne Booth asking if I would come and chat to her about potentially making wine from Bella Oaks. It was unbelievable. So of course we met. And what Suzanne explained to me was that forever and a day, Bella Oaks had sold fruit. And she believed it was time for Bella Oaks to have a chance to express its own unique voice to the world and to couple its grape growing and winemaking together. And so that's where we are today. So 2018, as Antonio said, was our first commercial release. We did produce a wine in 17 as well. But 18 was the wine that we led with. And of course, we've had 18, 19. We had a bit of a no year in 2020, and then 21, which you've got in your glass. I do want to touch briefly just on the 21 vintage, because no one's really given a true technical look at it yet. I think the big point that I want to ram home on 21 is that it was more influenced by 2020 than any other aspect. 2020, we didn't see the sun in Napa Valley for about 2 months because of smoke. And we saw really low carbohydrate loading in the vines, and that produced exceptionally low yields. Small berries and small number of berries per cluster. So some of the smallest crop I've ever seen in Napa Valley. And that's what was given us from Mother Nature. But on top of that, we actually saw fairly short shoots in 21 as well. And so What we had to do as farmers was balance that crop even further, and that was gut-wrenching because you already had a super small crop, and on top of that you had super short shoots, and you needed to balance that crop further, that vine further, by reducing the crop even more. So to walk out to a vineyard and see that it was already super low yielding and then having to drop more fruit on the ground, we knew it was the right thing to do, but it was a tough decision to make. But I really accredit a lot of that concentration and freshness and energy to the 21s to what happened to us in 2020.
That's great, Nigel. That's, I mean, it's great to hear the more technical explanation. Because one of the things that's unique about this vintage is that you have that marriage of the concentrated fruit, but also the brightness, you know, and I think one of the things that defines really complete wines is when there's not too much of any one aspect. So certainly in Napa Valley, there's plenty of vintages that have had opulence. There's other vintages that are fresher, cooler, but this vintage has this really nice mix. And I think you're going to see that as we taste through the wines. So thank you. This is a really, I mean, this is not a wine I get to taste very often. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, you're welcome.